All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Got my camera working. We are ready to go for our Saturday night edition of our live chat. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably watching NCAA March Madness, but this is about the only chance I have with Easter Sunday being tomorrow. And then during the week, next week, I have weightlifting regionals. So I'm going to be away 2 or 3 of the days, probably 2 of the days at least next week. So this was about the only chance that I had to go live. So figured I would go ahead and do the YouTube live tonight. Hopefully there aren't a ton of March Madness people out there. The only game, or at least the one game that was on UConn was a blowout, and now you get the next games on. So hopefully you can join us here on our YouTube live session. What's up, Chase? So getting closer to the spring, just wanted to check in a little bit, see what you guys are doing, what you guys are up to. For those of you that have spring football, we have spring football. So we are now going through our 7-on-7 stuff, currently on spring break. Our spring break is tied around Easter, so a little bit later than most people, but we are currently on our spring break right now. So next week off for me. So this was the perfect time to do YouTube live stuff. Went to had an opportunity this past weekend. We visited Coastal Carolina. Always a great opportunity when you can get a college visit in and sit with the staff. Got a chance to sit in on some of their defensive meetings. Not really familiar with a bunch of the stuff they do on defense. Their DC is a disciple of the Aranda system, Todd Orlando system. So didn't really have the opportunity to know what they did going in, but got to sit in on some meetings, got to watch their practice the next day, doing some really good stuff at Coastal Carolina. They have a great way of, I enjoyed how they taught some things to their safeties, talked a lot about situational football, talked a lot about tempo and what you can expect on certain portions of the field. And then when the ball gets into certain portions of the field, ball to the sideline of the opposing team, the tempo deals that you can expect, the FIB tempo, and did a really good job, I thought, of teaching their safeties in the meetings that I sat in on. I did get a chance to sit with their linebacker coach who was at New Mexico when they started playing some 3-3-5, 3 high stuff similar to Iowa State. So I got a chance to sit in on how they fit some of their deals, and it was really good for me. They did a lot of stuff at New Mexico from Okie fronts, not tight fronts. Got a chance to look at how their backers would fit things from open B gap settings or Okie settings, 5-0-5 instead of 4-eye, 0-4-eye. And the nomenclature, the verbiage that they use to talk to their linebackers about the different fits between, when there's a 4-eye in front of you and when there's an open B gap in front of you. So something that I think we're going to be able to take back with us and play some fronts that I haven't played in the past, because I've tried to keep everything as close to tight as I could, because I like the way the fits were from the tight front. Some 3-man surface, 21 personnel deals that got us into a little bit of trouble in the tight front. I think we're going to be able to alleviate that now in our 3 high system, to be able to play some shade fronts, which are almost very similar to old style reduction fronts, with an open B gap on the front side with a shade and a 5 technique, or at least a head up nose and a 5 technique. So I think, I got some things that I learned that I can incorporate into how we do things. And really, when you go to a college, that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to see if there's some things you can take back to bring to your program. Is it, practice plan stuff? Is it organization stuff? Is it verbiage? Is it buzzwords? So for me, it's not always about going somewhere and taking back the exact scheme that they're running. If it's a scheme that you employ and the terminology and you play it exactly the way they play it, then that's a little bit different story. But for most of us, when we go visit a college, it's taking the things that they're doing, seeing how they're teaching it, seeing how they're installing it, seeing what they're trying to carry and what they think they can carry, and then trying to plug it into your world. So for me, it was more about taking the way they taught when the linebacker coach was at New Mexico, taking how they taught their Okie front fits and their three high stuff, and how they taught. Interesting way of teaching it. If there were, for them, the rules they kind of went by, if there were two in the core, which means a running back and a tight end in the core, then they were going to play Okie front. If there was one in the core, which means just a tailback, probably 10 personnel stuff, nobody attached, then they were going to play a little bit of their back front, which means the 4-eye would be shaded to the side of the back. If it was pistol, you would have to choose where you would want to shade them. But very similar to the stuff that Iowa State does, which is stuff that we, in my first 2 years at the job that I'm currently at, we didn't do a lot of. We stayed tight front a majority of the time because I like the way the fronts set up for our linebackers. I like the way the fits were. But, in the last, especially this past season, some of the, 3-man surface tight end attached 11, 21 personnel stuff, 12 personnel stuff, became a little bit of an issue just staying tight front. I know I've made this argument in the past for people that are tight front. If you allow somebody to formation you, personnel you out of tight front, then I still firmly believe that it kind of is counterintuitive to being a tight front, because if the offense can do things to get you out of tight front and you're a tight front team, well, then they're just going to formation you and personnel you out of the tight front, and then they never have to deal with it. So, I still want to look at a way where we can play our tight front stuff when we want to play it, but I also want to look at a way that we can play it kind of Okie, open B gap, and the fits change a little bit. And they had a very simplistic way to teach their fits with an open B gap in the Okie front from their three high stuff. That was, to me, the best thing that I picked up from them, how they did that, how they taught their backers to fit, how they were teaching the 5 techniques and the nose to play. So, when you go on college visits, you don't know all the time exactly what you're going to get or exactly what you're looking for. Like I said, I didn't have a great understanding going into it, how they play defense, what their terminology is. So it was very difficult for me to, grasp how they were doing things, call by call, front by front, coverage by coverage. Obviously, when you sit in on meetings, you can kind of piece some things together. So I was able to piece together what they were trying to do. But again, you never know who's been where or what they've done in the past. So getting a chance to sit with a linebacker coach who ran some 3-5, 3 high stuff at New Mexico, I ended up at a visit at Coastal Carolina watching New Mexico film. So, you never know when you go to colleges what you're going to get. It's always, when you watch those guys practice plan and you watch how organized they are with what they're trying to do within their practice plan and the install and the periods that they have set up. And, obviously they have GAs and assistants and guys that can help with a lot of that stuff. But, to sit in on a meeting and watch how organized they are and how disciplined it is to figure out with the whole staff in there to put together, a Saturday practice from 8:45 to 10:45, you really get a good feel for what you need to be doing within your practice plan, right? And how everybody needs to be on the same page, and everything needs to be scripted from Indy and the drills that everybody's doing in Indy, then to your team periods, your pre-practice periods. They just had, the organizational piece of it when you get to that level is something that I think everybody can learn from. Can we do all that without having all those graduate assistants? Obviously I think we can plan it that way. We can set it up to be that way. Some of the drills won't run as effectively as some of the stuff they do. But just seeing, again, it's been a couple of years for me since I've sat in on a college meeting, and getting back to that level of football and seeing how intricate it is and every minor detail of what they're doing and what they're installing. And then they scripted out, they had 3 team sessions against the offense, and now they're scripting out what they want to call against what the offense has been running. And to hear all those guys sit down between the D line coach and a linebacker coach and, the secondary guy and the D coordinator, and to hear them go through all of it and go, all right, what do we want to do tomorrow? What do we like? What do we not like? And, to hear them talk about the issues they may have, again, not knowing, they had a pretty good idea what the offense was going to do, but they don't have the script in front of them. So they're trying to, kind of script things they like for certain scenarios. And, hearing them talk about what they like if it's third and short, what they like in certain scenarios that, of the things that they have installed. Those to me are a lot of the bonuses, right? And the things that you can get from going to college practices, watching them script it, watching them talk about how they were scripting it, watching them talk about what they like versus, third and short scenarios with what they have installed, the personnel that they're playing. Because again, second week into the spring, they don't have everything installed. They're not making a million personnel changes. They do have some personnel groups that they're working, but they've got to find a way to play third and short within what they have installed right now. So to see them organize that, to see the discipline that it takes to organize a practice to get it to run the way you want to run, that to me is one of the takeaways that I got from being there. It kind of makes us sit back and figure out what we're trying to do, what we're installing, does what we're installing fit, versus what the offense is doing. And, it just gives you a better understanding of how disciplined and organized that stuff is, right? They're just not throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks. They have an idea what they're trying to do. The meetings that you get to sit in on with their players, how they conduct those meetings. Those things are so educational as a high school coach. Again, you may not like, I don't know exactly what they do on defense going in. I'm not sure exactly if what they do fits us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a waste of a visit, right? You're trying to go there to pick up verbiage, buzzwords, teaching concepts, drills, how they're doing certain drills. And for me, listening to the defense coordinator talk to the safeties about situational football and, certain man situations and how they need to play. And when the ball's on a certain spot of the field, high red zone compared to middle of the field compared to backed up, so when you get a chance to hear those guys speak and teach, it's always going to be a bonus for you, right? So if you get a chance to visit colleges, I don't care what the scheme is. I don't care really what they do per se as a coach. You're always going to have an opportunity to learn something. And, I'm always looking for ways that we can teach certain things different and things that are giving them issues that they're trying to deal with on their level. And how can we correspond that to things that are giving us issues on our level? So anytime you get to a college visit, it's always going to be a great deal. So if you guys get a chance to visit colleges, I think you certainly, you need to do it. You need to take that opportunity. You're never going to be worse as a coach for doing it. So, with that being said, now that we're back, I have to plug all that information in and figure out how it fits us. I certainly think we can change how we fit our backers and play our three high stuff from Okie front 505. We've only played it from tight front the last 2 years. So I think now we can kind of mess around with the fronts a little bit. We can be tight when we want to be tight, but we can also shade the front we can be 504I or we can be 505 and still fit it from a three high world. So I got some really good pieces of information from that. It was exciting to get a taste of ball again. I'm not sure if you can. I mean, I don't know if you can call it jam. One of the things they're certainly doing is any out blocks. They're two gapping, so the five techniques have the ability to play the B gap versus any base blocks or out blocks. If that's a jam technique to you, then so be it. To me, jam is more off the tight end, but again, football terminology is different everywhere you go. But they're playing heavy five techniques. If they get down blocks, they're spilling. How they play zone read is dependent upon the calls that they have built in. They'll surf it sometimes. They'll mesh charge it sometimes. But base gap schemes, base down blocks, the five techniques are squeeze, spill, trying to send the ball out to the third high safety from the New Mexico stuff that I watched. They were trying to get the ball sent to the alley where the middle safety is running. And, but they did two gap, the B gap. And that's, if you're going to be 5-0-5 in a 3-high world, normally in a tight front, the light box theory says that you're going to take away 4 interior gaps with least amount of players possible. And you're going to send the ball out where you need to send it. So when you go 5-0-5, you start to look at it and go, I think we're a gap short. But what they do versus zone stuff and gap schemes is any blocks that come towards them, they are going to go underneath and play the B gap. And that's how they make up that extra gap. So the 5 techniques are more heavy 5 technique players. Any reach blocks, base blocks that come towards them, they can beat inside to the B gap. And then the backers and the middle safety fit off that. So, again, interesting for me, because we've only been tight front and we've stayed tight front for the majority of the time that I've been at the school I'm at for the last 2 years. I've always wanted an adjustment to the tight front. And now I think I've got a set way to teach it, a set way to teach the backers behind a 4-eye and behind a 5 technique. It's one of those deals where the 5 technique recreates the 4-eye versus certain blocks, right? So if you get certain schemes, so if you're the 5 technique and you get inside zone at you, you then become a B gap player and you recreate the 4-eye. You're not lining up in the 4-eye, but you're recreating the same thing. So you're getting the same fits, and you're kind of eliminating those gaps, the same gaps that you're trying to eliminate in tight, but you're giving those guys a little bit. The biggest thing for me, I think, going into this year is when the more we can play 5 techniques, not only to change the front of what we do, but I think our guys kind of get in a world where they see the 4-eye technique as being a space eater. Mentally, they feel like they're not going to make a ton of plays. They feel like they're just going to be occupying the B gap. The more you can line up a kid as a 5 technique and say, hey, here's a chance to be off the edge if they get pass rush, right? So the 4-eyes hate drop back pass because you don't get a great pass rush. So now you get a chance to be a 5 technique versus pass. Yes, you have to spill now, so you've got to do a little bit more work. You got to teach guys how to spill and how to play off of down blocks and how to squeeze and take air out of down blocks and how to spill the next thing coming. And you're going to have to teach guys how to surf when you want them to surf and how to mesh charge or, play maybe the high gear part of, the option stuff when you want them to play the quarterback and not the dive. So a little bit more teaching involved with the 5, but I feel like it gives our defensive linemen a little bit better mindset to say that, hey, we're going to play you in 5 techniques at times. And as a 5 technique, you're going to get a chance to make some plays. So I like it for us for what we've done in the past. I like it if we want to stay 3-high to 11 personnel, 3-man surfaces, or even some 12 personnel stuff. I feel like the Okie front gives us a better chance than the tight front stuff. I feel like we can still be tight front when we want to be tight front if we want to force the issue, because I still think at the high school level, you need to play tight front when you want to play it because you have to make the other team attack tight front. It changes their rules. It changes how they prepare. And now, we've had 4-down stuff, right? We've had different change-ups that people had to prepare for. But now when you've got tight front, Okie front, 4-down, now you're really making that offense prepare for a couple different things, and they can't just dial up all their tight front beaters. So, I'm excited to use it in our spring, see how we fit it. I'm excited to teach the linebackers the simplicity of a scrape fit versus a plug fit. So, generically what they do in the simplest terms when they're playing Okie, their linebackers play what they call plug fits, and they call it a rolling start technique. So their toes are at 4, and they are working themselves downhill. And the linebackers, when they plug fit, only have to read the guard in front of them. They don't have to read a triangle. They don't have to read guard, center, guard. They don't have to worry about backflow. They read a guard in front of them. If the guard run blocks at them, they cross face into the A gap. If the guard run blocks down inside towards the center, then they plug and become a 3 technique in a B gap. So it's very simplistic in how they fit. from the Oki front, but then they also teach the backers how to fit from what they call scrape. And scrape is when you have a 4-eye closed B gap in front of you. So, they had the ability to play with a open B gap linebacker to one side and a scrape linebacker to the other side. It's all dependent upon lagging the nose. And there are a lot of different clips of them playing 505 and plug fitting, and them playing 504I with a plug backer and a scrape backer. So, a lot of good clips, a lot of good teach tape from their New Mexico stuff. And it fits what we do. It fits how we play our 3 high stuff. So, again, for me, excited to try some of that some of that stuff in the spring, especially the 3-man surfaces, trying to stay 3 high and maybe shade it to where you get the 5 technique to the 3-man surface. You still play a 0 and then you play a 4-eye behind it. So, exciting to be able to look at those things. And anytime you pick up something that's a little bit different, different than how you teach it, different than how you talk about it, that's, to me, for us, that's always what we're looking for, right? We're looking to generate that buzz going into the spring. We're looking to generate that energy. If you go somewhere that plays verbatim what you play and everything you teach, obviously the college guys probably do it better than we do. They install it maybe a little bit better. Maybe they teach it a little bit better. But if it's your scheme verbatim, then sometimes, when you go there, you learn some stuff, but you don't learn, some other things. So for me to get a different way of us playing our 3-3-5, 3 high stuff, that was to me worth the trip in itself. Right. And again, this was watching New Mexico film. Hey King, how are you? I wasn't even watching Coastal Carolina film. Obviously I watched them scrimmage the next day and, piece some things together of what they're doing on defense. But I went to a school and got film from a place that they were previously at, and that benefited me. So, when you take visits and you go to places and you go to clinics, you never know where you're going to be able to get information from. Right. So you never know where you're going to pull. Those guys have so much experience. They've been at different places. They play things a different way. And it just so happens their linebacker coach was at a school that played 3-3-5, 3 high Iowa State stuff. And I was able to get some information on that. So, you never know when you're going to visit what you're going to get into. Obviously if you pick a place to visit, if it fits what you do on offense or defense, then that's great. If you run something very similar to what they do, then obviously that's great. But, those guys have so many connections. They have so much film. It's crazy where you can derive your information from and get your information from. And I was able to get it from stuff that wasn't even Coastal Carolina, and they were willing to talk about it, right? Their linebacker coach was, once I told him that we were a tight front 3 high team, he was willing to share information that he had from his New Mexico days. And that's what those visits are always about. Like, we're trying to get better. If we can't get better playing exactly what they play, well, then if those guys spend time with us to help us with what we do, it makes us better. You're building networks and relationships, right? So those guys are trying to build a network with us. So if we get players, hopefully, they can get a nod towards Coastal Carolina because we have a relationship with them, right? So it's all about social networking. It's all about building your college contacts and building your networks, and anything that you get from there, that benefits you, then obviously that's an absolute bonus, right? So I've never been, in my 25 years of doing this, I've never visited a college and it's been a waste of time. I've never visited a college and didn't get anything because it's not what we do, right? There's always things you can pull from what they're doing. Schematically, if it doesn't fit you, then maybe, teaching, drills, practice plans, whatever it is, like, you're always going to learn something. So college visits are never going to be a bad thing. And then the good thing is when those guys get free time, you get a chance to pick their brain about some different things because they've been at different places that have done things differently, right? So they're able to sit there and talk to you about how they did things somewhere else, even though that's not how they do it at Coastal Carolina, right? They have their identity, they have who they are, they have their personnel, they have what they do, but they also have a wealth of experience of places they've been. So you can talk to them about, all right, you know, did you ever play this scheme? And if you did, what gave you problems, right? So I was able to sit down with them and talk a little bit about three high and three down, Okie tight, back front, 5-0 I. I was able to talk about those things and they were able to give me answers on things that not only helped me, but issues they had. So it's like, hey, now they can talk to you and say, when we were doing this, here's what really gave us issues. And then you can pick their brain and say, okay, well, if you had to do it again, how would you protect that? How would you change that? So, always a good time when you get to visit colleges. Really good time for us because we're about a month out of spring. So that was very good for me. And now it's about me trying to make that fit. It's about me trying to figure out when and where we can play tight, when and where we need to be okie, how we can teach the difference between plug fits and scrape fits. And, it's just, again, you're getting knowledge, you're getting information, you're making yourself better as a football coach. And, for me at this point in my career, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get better. I don't know if I'm trying to go anywhere to get a whole systematic schematic change. I don't know if I'm visiting anywhere to verbatim say, all right, how do you guys play this? And I want to install this exactly the way you play it. I still have to fit a roster to a scheme. I've got to put the best players I have on the football field and figure out how we can play football. But again, it's anytime you get a chance to sit with them, you're always going to benefit. So, to me, that would make, why you would visit a college. I don't share everything we do, King, on video. A lot of the stuff that I do on YouTube that everybody can watch. There's videos from time to time that aren't exactly what we do. There's videos from time to time that are a little bit of what we do. I very rarely share our exact terminology. If I'm doing a video where, like our Blitz family video, I talk about our Blitz families, but I don't give anybody the exact verbiage that we use. I know in one video I said that our 5-man pressures are Marvel superheroes. Well, our 5-man pressures are not Marvel superheroes. So, there's truth in the schematics of what we're doing. But in the videos that I do, there's not truth in the fact that that's exactly what we do. Um, I'm trying to be as educational and as helpful for people as I can. At the same time, not always trying to tip my hat. So, a lot of the stuff that I do on YouTube is not all the answers. It's not, the verbiage of it is not the same. And my answer, King, to be honest with you, is teams that you play have 6, 7, 8 films, depending on what time of the year it is. I think you're doing a disservice to other coaches if you feel like they don't know what you're doing after 6 films. I don't know how much I can do on YouTube that guys are going to look at and say, all right, well, that's how they do this or that's how they do that. They have film. They've watched me play. They know what we play. They know how we play it. They know who our personnel is. So, that was definitely an original thought going in when I first started doing stuff. But the more I do it, the more I start thinking about it. These guys have seen me coach for 30 years, 25 years, whatever it is. They know we're split field. They know the last 2 years, they know we're three high. I don't think there's a video that I've done that you can really pinpoint a way into saying that's exactly how they do it, right? Every video I do is open-ended to where I'm giving you enough information. If you want to use it, it helps you, but I'm not ever going to give the entire product out there. So definitely a thought, King, to be honest with you. I think about it from time to time, but the more I go back and look at it, I don't think you can derive anything more off of what I say on YouTube than you can off of the 5 or 6 games that you're watching when you scheme against us. So, and I try to tell people all the time, just because I say it in a video doesn't mean we play it. Just because I talk about multiple coverages doesn't mean we play them all. Just because I talk about certain pressures doesn't mean we run them all. At the end of the day, when it comes to play fast, I'm a content creator. I have to find ways to develop content. After 10 years and 700 videos. It's harder and harder to come out with content all the time. So, I'm always trying to gear it towards creating content, something that can be interesting, something that can derive interest to people. And at the same time, I don't think I've ever done a video where verbatim on the board, it's what we do, right? If it's 3x1, I'm going to give you one or two answers, or I'm going to talk about one or two things that we do, but you know, those might not be the things we do the week we play. So, pressure wise, I talk about paths and coverage and what we do behind it, but I don't ever give out the exact verbiage to say that this is what those coverages are. So, definitely a thought that you gotta keep in mind that when you put yourself out there in the social media world. And my niche, my fallback is not college film. It's not NFL film. I don't analyze NFL film. I don't analyze college film. So it is a lot of what we do and how we do it. There are a lot of videos where I talk about where we struggle with things, but from a game plan perspective, I don't think I'm ever laying out exactly what we're doing or how we're going to do it. So I still feel okay with it. Yeah, I mean, you can be apprehensive. It all depends on what you want to do, right? It's all obviously. I've created a play fast football platform, and that's the platform that I interact with people on, and that's how I help people. So, there's always going to be um, the apprehensiveness to say that you're throwing things out there that help people, but there's enough film out there. There's enough people that know what we do and how we do it. So I don't think there's, do guys game plan off of YouTube and send, I've got some really good friends that we coach against, and, guys that outside of the one time we play that season, guys that I'm good friends with and I'm going to hang out with. And, you know, if it's one of those deals where those guys send me a video of I've had guys that have game planned in their meetings. They'll send me a video of them watching one of my videos, and part of it is it's them being funny. It's them, it's them having a sense of humor, and some of it may be trying to learn what we do. But at the end of the day, I think there's enough film out there. Guys know what you do. You're not. I don't think there's anything I'm putting out there on YouTube that is the holy grail of, oh shit, that's how they do things, right? I think you see it, you see how we play it, you see how we play tight end sets, you see how we play 3x1, you see what our pressure tendencies are. So, uh, you know, it is it worrisome for some people? I'm sure it is. I chose this route; it's what I wanted to do from when I was doing it for 8 years as a head coach, and it never bothered me one time that I was doing these videos and other people could see them. YouTube's a free platform. Everything I do on YouTube is public. For the most part, I've got some virtual clinics that I did that I charge people for, and those are private. But every YouTube video I've done is public. It's out there, and I think, to be honest with you, I think you'd be selling me short if you didn't think that some of those videos are done with a little bit of not show your hand, gambler's odds. If you think every video that I'm doing is exactly what we do or how we do it, again, don't want to mislead anybody by any means, but I certainly know that when I do videos, there is some open ended loops there that I don't close all the way. So, but I will tell you this, King, in a good way. Uh, there's been weeks where I've done videos on purpose, knowing that who we play are going to watch YouTube, and I put videos out on purpose talking about a topic that has nothing to do with what we're going to do Friday night, and then somebody has to figure out, is that something we're doing or not. So, um, I may or may not have done that 15, 20 times in my career. To throw it out there when I know that, especially friends of mine, right, guys that I consider friends of mine, um, and I know we're playing each other that week, and I throw some type of man pressure video out there, knowing I'm not going to man pressure. that's part of the game too, right? We're all trying to play chess, not checkers. So, I think I've been doing this long enough to understand where I need to hedge and fudge some things here or there. I would never do a video so off base that somebody that's trying to learn something is going to end up doing something idiotic because of what I said. Um, I'm never going to lean that way, but I can tell you there has been several times in the past where I have done a video on purpose the week of a game, knowing that who I'm playing is going to watch what I do. And I don't know if it helps or hurts. I don't know. I might have won some of those games. I might have lost some of those games. So I don't know how much it might have helped or hurt, but behind the brand, behind the camera, there is a little bit of a brain. I do understand that people are going to use some of this information against us. So I do have a way of throwing some videos out there sometimes that are kind of getting people off the track, so to speak. So, but most of the stuff we do is legit. Most of the stuff we do is generic, and but again, I think there's enough, especially verbiage wise and how we play things. I think there's enough wrinkles to what we do that you can't really turn a video on and go, that's how they do it, right? If you're a Palms team or a two read team, if teams know that you play two read to two open, you don't need a YouTube video to understand what they do, right? You have film, you can see leverage, you can see where the apex is, you can see how the corners play, you can see the depth of the safety. So, I don't lose sleep over it. That's for sure. Do I think about it from time to time? Does my head coach think about it from time to time? Yes. But I don't lose a lot of sleep over it. I think there's enough film out there for people to, figure out what we do, so to speak. So going on about 40 minutes now. If you guys have any questions, anything you want to talk about, throw it out there now. Probably going to be on for another 10 or 15 minutes. So if you got any questions, anything you want to talk about, anything you're thinking about, anything you're interested in, anything you want to know what we do, how we do, throw it out there. Again, I've always said this is our best communication platform when it's just 12 or 14 of us talking football, asking questions, other people answering questions, turning my shit on every week. You know how I do things, kind of the way we set things up, with PlayFast. So when we can talk about it amongst other coaches, to me, that's the best form of how we're going to grow. So last 8-10 minutes here, whatever we're going to do. Anybody got any questions, anything you want to know, anything you're thinking about doing, whatever you got going on with your program, throw it out there, lay it all out. I do want to give a shout out to one of our new partners, Fly Route Drones. I started partnering about a week ago with Fly Route Drones. We use drones for our practices. We don't use them in games yet. It's still, in most parts of Florida, illegal to use in games, but we use them for every practice, 7-on-7, our summer stuff. So if you don't have a drone, I highly suggest you look into Fly Route Drones. They have courses that teach people how to fly the drone so that you can be, complicit or you can be legal with all the things that you need to be legal within your state to fly a drone. So they have educational pieces. You can sign up and get, their courses on how to fly a drone. Obviously, they sell drone equipment. So they sent me a shirt and a hat, and I am repping that swag today. I repped it at the golf course while I was working on my golf game. So appreciative of Fly Route, all the other sponsors that we have, GameStrat, Dome Hats, Baker Sporting Goods, Difference USA, Get Aaron Consulting. Let's see who else we got. Brand Tech, a brand new company out of Wisconsin that I'm working with now. So love all our partners, love being able to bring these businesses to the demographic that we have with PlayFast, trying to get more eyes to their products. So, love representing them, love trying to build their brand. And anytime they send the swag, I love repping the swag, right? A little bit of a conflict of interest for me. This is not a Dome hat. So I am repping the swag that Fly Route sent me, but it's hurting my feelings a little bit because it's not a dome hat, and you know that I rock dome hats. So a little bit of a conflict and interest from me, but they sent it. They got it to me in the mail. I appreciate them getting it to me in the mail. So I am going to rep the swag while I have it. So, but again, if you're not, check out drones, check out Fly Route drones. We use it for a lot of stuff that we do. We have somebody that is already licensed to fly a drone. So if you don't have somebody licensed to fly a drone, you can go through their courses. They'll get you certified. They'll get somebody licensed to be legal to fly the drone the way they need to fly it. So check out Fly Route drones if you get a chance. Yeah, Chase, that's a decent video. It's not, I would have to go back and do that video again to get into the exact progression of it. I did that video more or less. Um, it was almost as much of a defensive video as it was an offensive video. Because guys throw around those terms all the time and they get confused when defensive guys tend to get confused sometimes when guys throw out, Mills, Dagger, drive. And it wasn't as, if it was an offensive video, I probably could have went more into the progression of it. I kind of just laid it out there as that's what these combinations are. So, not a bad video by any means. But, from an offensive standpoint, I could have did it a little bit more justice, but I was actually doing that video more as a defensive video to let guys understand when offensive guys talk about Mills and Dagger and drive and what the actual combination is. We use some load front king in some passing down situations. I obviously I think it's got a place. NFL guys, college guys use it a bunch. I don't like it in base downs. I don't think it fits the way we fit runs. I could certainly see if you were an even front team getting into some load stuff and stunning some stuff out to where you get back, you present load fronts, but then you get back into your traditional over fronts or four down stuff. Third down, passing down, trying to generate a pass rush, all the things make sense, right? Loading the front, mugging a backer, trying to figure out how they have to slide, where they want to slide. You got your three bigs on one side. So if they're going to be a half slide team, they're probably going to slide to your three bigs. Good chance you can get a back, stepping up in an error, B gap in protection. So, for what it's worth and what it does, we use it at times. I'm just not a fan in base situations. I'm not good enough right now to teach load front principles, and we're an odd front team. So, if I was an over team or a four down team, I would really think about load front stuff and then maybe some movement to get me back to over, right? Whether that's the shaded nose, stunting back across, or stunting the three and the shaded nose and getting into an under look possibly, or a G look with two A gap players. I would certainly look at it from that capacity. If I was, a four down team. For us, it's just a change up because we're a three down team. You've got to have the ability to protect four down. And then when we go load front, it changed it a little bit. So really good to dictate matchups, really good to figure out how you can kind of almost tie or handcuff the offense to slide a certain way. And now you know which way they're going to slide. So all your games and, your sims and creepers and pressure deals can come off of that. So, definitely has a place. It's big in the NFL. It's big in college. It's an interesting theory. I don't spend a ton of time in that world because run fits give me a little bit of an issue. Now, is that to say that you can't fit runs from the load front? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's a little bit more involved than your traditional fronts, and you would have to get funky with how you're fitting some of that. So, really good for passing downs, really good for dictating protection, really good for sims and creepers and mug presentations. You can get kind of exotic and funky with it. So I love it as a third down deal. I love it as almost a gimmick. Not a fan of it in base situations. So, yeah, to me, Chase, I think a practice that everybody should do at some point. I try to do it as a head coach from time to time. I think you should make your coaches switch sides. I think you should make your if you have spring ball or if you have a setting where you can afford to be you know uh, a little bit risque in how you're doing things or a little bit different. I would take my offensive staff and make them coach defense for 3 weeks. I would take my defensive staff and make them coach offense for 3 weeks. It gives you the total other perspective of how they do things, how they think about things, what's going to give you issues. So, as an offensive guy, the more you learn about defense, the better you are. As a defensive guy, the more you learn about offense, the better you are. I've had guys come in my office that want to be coordinators, and I say, all right, well, draw up 11 personnel power, draw up GY counter, draw up GT counter, draw up bash, and they can't draw it up. So, it's hard to be or to think that you can be a coordinator if you can't draw offensive things. If you're an offensive guy and you can't draw different fronts and different run fits and how you think they're going to fit runs based on fronts and coverages, yeah, you might be great with X's and O's. You might be great with schemes. You might be a great play caller. If you can't draw up scout cards and you can't do those things, then ultimately, I don't think you can be a coordinator. So, that's something that I would certainly try and get guys there. But you got to know where the guys on your staff are, right? So you have enough guys on your staff that are still green and wet behind the ear, and you got to get them to understand what you're doing on your side before you ever get them to understand, the other side. Once you start to feel out your staff, or if your staff stays together for a little while, and you get guys that are more knowledgeable about what's going on one side of the ball, I think if you force feed them and make them learn the other side, you're going to make better coaches, right? I feel that way. The best thing that ever happened to me is when I got a head coaching job when I was 26 years old. And, obviously I played receiver in college and was more offensive inclined. And I got a head coaching job and I had to figure out at least how to understand defense, because as a head coach, you can't just hire a coordinator and have no idea what goes on that side of the ball. Well, then you have no answers. If you're struggling, how can you tell that guy what to play when you don't know how to play defense? How can you ask that guy what he's doing if you don't understand what it is? So, I got a head coaching job very, very young in my career and got forced to learn the other side of the ball. So it was the best thing that ever happened to me and something that I would highly recommend to other people. If you like being on one side of the ball, that's great. But in the off season, in your downtime, your free time, study the other side of the ball. It's going to make you a better coach. So, going on about 15 minutes, guys. I have to run. I have to get up early and work tomorrow morning. Glad I can get on here and talk with you guys a little bit. Last time we talked, my camera wasn't working. So good to be in front of you guys again. Good to get a chance to talk. I appreciate you guys being here while it's March Madness and there's some basketball games on. So appreciate you guys joining. Wish I could stay a little bit longer, but got a happy Easter to all of you. Thank you, King, for that. I've got 4:45 wake up call tomorrow to roll greens at the golf course that I work at. So appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for everything you do for Play Fast. Look for some more videos coming out. Especially as we get into spring football, and I'm starting to try some of the things that we want to try. Look for some more videos to come out. Thank you for being a part of what we do. Thank you for being a part of this YouTube Live. Appreciate all the comments tonight. Support our partners like Fly Route Drones and the swag that they gave me. Appreciate them. So thank you for everything, guys. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Have a great Easter. Have a great Saturday night. See you next time.